Everyone wants a really accurate mediumship reading. So, how do you do that? How do you lift the level of your accuracy in your readings, creating wow moments and staying out of the generic space? What's the key to that? I get asked that all the time as a reader. Here's the key. Here's the magic pro tip. Don't make it fit. Don't turn it into a story. Give exactly what you get. Nowhere are you going to have any points of reference to know the dynamic between your client and the person in spirit. You can't make any assumptions about the relationship and then what it's like because you'll be running it through your own filters if you do that. And it may not be true for these two souls. You also don't know the client's history, what they've been through, what they're currently going through, their emotional state, any triggers, any traumas in relation to their life or the person in spirit. The same with spirit. You don't know who they were, how they showed up, or the elements that unpacks as you go into the reading as they demonstrate who they are. So any assumptions you make, they're based on you. You're running it through your subconscious, through your filter. This is where you're going to get it wrong because you don't know them. So the pro tip is to give exactly what you get, how you get it. Don't make it into a story. Don't make it more than what it is. Let me share with you a couple of examples. And sits also really well in the forensic mediumship space, how that works. So not only in the traditional evidential mediumship readings that we have, but also in forensic mediumship. So I have a couple of examples in the recent readings that I did. And nowhere would my point of reference of anything that I have experienced align with what I was getting. So I had a gentleman, we'd been right in the reading, it was towards the end, he was a father in spirit. And I'd asked him at the end, what's the last thing that you want to say? And sometimes they'll say really heartfelt, deep messages, and other times something else kind of random. You just never know. They're conscious beings, they're going to say what they say. So he shows me, and he has me hold my hand like this. So he shows me an object that is this shape. And then he shows me the top, and I can see that it's really shiny. It's hard. So I know it's hard too. And I asked, was it porcelain? It's like, no, it's not porcelain. Is it glass? He's like, no, it's shiny and a little bit reflective, but it's not glass, is what he said to me. Like, sometimes I wish they would just say, it's this thing, but they don't always do that. Sometimes they're just going to show you the thing and not tell you what it is. And I said to him, I don't know what it is. I said to him, Dad, because that's what I was calling him by this stage. I said, Dad, is it a container? Like, is it a trinket box? Like, show me the bottom. He's like, no, 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 it's not a trinket box. I'm like, I was at this point, like, help a sister out, Dad, help a sister out. And uh, and he goes, and he shows me the color then. And I'm like, oh, I can see that it's brown and gray and it's got these facets of this type. I'm like, it reminds me of tortoiseshell, but it's not tortoiseshell. But I was aware of those kind of colors, those earthy colors. And I said to the daughter, I said, look, I have to just tell you describe this thing. I said, because I don't have a point of reference that this would be a significant item, like, because I knew it was a significant item for dad and the daughter. I knew that what it looked like, but my brain, because it's happening so fast, my brain couldn't join all the dots together to be able to work out what it was. And when I described it to her, she knew exactly what it was. She said to me, the only thing that my father has ever given me was a highly polished rock. because Dad also said it still existed and she still had it. He says it's a highly polished rock. And then which made sense. I said, oh, great. I would have never have thought that a father would give a daughter a highly polished rock as a gift. I've never received it as a gift from my father or anyone else. So therefore, my brain couldn't get it super fast. It could describe exactly what was going on, but it couldn't run through my filters because any rocks that I've found didn't have that associated with it. So by giving it exactly how I got it, it made sense to the daughter. I could have made that into a whole story, thinking that it was something else, but it wasn't, a trinket box or anything else. Another example I had was these were all in the same week, so I'm going to share these four examples. The other one I had was a husband was, once again, we were in the reading for quite some time, and I was communicating with his wife. She was my client. And he showed me, we'd already talked about his wedding ring. That came up really like as the first thing, really. But he showed me his wedding ring again. But this time when he showed me the wedding ring, he changed the shape of it. So I knew it was being changed or manipulated because he showed me the ring and then he kind of pulled it out and stretched it and did this maneuvering with its shape. Then he showed me what looked like a petri dish or a container. And then he got his ashes. And I had to obviously deliver this with great deal of sensitivity when we're talking about someone's ashes. But he got his ashes and then he tipped his ashes into this container. And then he poured what looked like resin. So I described, I said, it looks like resin, it kind of moves like resin, it's clear, and it's liquid form, and it's got that same kind of tactile there. And he's making I said, and he's showing me making something with this. He's methodically gone through the steps because that's what he did. And I said, once again, I had no point of reference for this. And so I said, I hope this makes sense to you. This is exactly what he's done. He's doing it as a process because he's clearly showing me the process that needs to occur. And she said it makes perfect sense to her because she had decided, since he had passed, that what she was going to do for her and her daughter was going to make rings go to someone that does this and take the ashes of her husband and get rings made for both her and her daughter. So they always had his ashes with her. Once again, it didn't run through my filter with my assumptions. I gave it exactly how I got it, and the client had to do the work. In mediumship, if you follow the process of delivering exactly what you get, you're not going to get it wrong. The client should know the story. They're the one that's living it or have lived it. Your words are just pulling out their memories. I'll share two more really quickly with you. Same kind of example. And the reason why I'm sharing this is for you to see the profound impact of giving exactly what you get and the fact that you shouldn't know. It's not your job to know their stories. It's your job to give the information how you get it. They know their stories. They know their history. They know their dynamic. You don't know it. Now you can go back like I did with Spirit and ask them questions to get more pieces to the puzzle. But that's all you need to do. You're the voice. So the other one I had, as I said, all in the same week. I had a young girl as the client and her uncle in spirit, but he wasn't technically her uncle. He was the best friend of her dad, but she called him uncle. So they had a really close dynamic, and he took the father role when her father passed. So they had this really nice dynamic. And what he did was he showed me a logo, and he took me back in time. So he showed me a logo that I recognized from when I was a child. And so he showed me this logo, and it was on a business. So he showed me that. So this is what I'm expressing all the things that are occurring. So in the reading process, I'm going, he's showing me this, showing me a logo. He's showing me that it's back in time. So he's taking me back to childhood. And he's showing me that it's associated with a business, and I said the type of business that it was. And he's making it circle. So he was really putting a light circle around this. So he's showing me the shape of this as well. So he's taken zoomed in on the logo, put it on a timeline on where it sits as far as when she was a child, and then he's come back and is showing me that it's circle, and then he's also making me aware that he had it and now you have it, this object, and then I'm aware that it has this little on the little piece of metal on the back of it that's kind of thin like a pin or something or a piece of wire, because that's what it looked like. As I described that to her, she knew exactly what it was. And because I said it still existed, she said when she was a child, her family owned a business and she took the logo of the business and made that into a badge. She gave the badge to her uncle. Her uncle kept this badge. And then later on in life, when she was an adult, he gave it back to her. So recently, he'd given it back to her before passing. Once again, I wouldn't have known that. I mean, they could have 100%. Spirit could have done it far simpler. It wouldn't have had all the details in it. And they could have just yelled out the word badge, right? And hopefully the client would have known what badge and all this type of thing. But they went into all the details so she knew exactly what badge, what he was talking about. So giving all the details. And the last one I'll just share super quickly, but it shows in regards to presence. Sometimes spirit knows what's happened since they've passed, right? A bit like the ring. Like that spirit, that husband knew that the wife was getting the ring made. That's the bigger part of that component of the reading. Like as he gave that evidence, he was demonstrating that he knew about her decision, and then he indicated that he really liked it. So there's other components of that. But I just want to talk specifically around the evidence part rather than the whole aspect of that reading. And this is, once again, it was a dad from memory. I had a few dads, a dad from memory. And we went towards the end of the reading and maybe three-quarters through, and he was showing me some socks. And I said to him, are they your socks? And he's like, no. And he showed me his socks are kind of boring. They're like work socks. They're grey, blah, blah. These socks were very colourful, and they were a different weave. They were more of a female sock based on the weave, and they were very bright. And he was making me aware that these belonged to the client, because he pointed to her and said, no, these are her socks, not my socks. And I'm aware that these socks, that she's just got them and that they're important. And describe what they look like and things like that. Straight away, she knew. She said, I really don't like socks at all. She said, I'm not a sock person, don't really like them at all. But her mother had been overseas, and the gift that her mother brought back was these pair of socks, exactly like what the father had described, which the father is demonstrating that he is aware of this event. And obviously, that event is linked to a bigger event being the trip. So, spirit, if we allow them to be really specific, they will be specific. Your readings should not be vague. They have the depth to be able to express what they know has happened, like so a history thing, like the badge, but also what has just happened, what they have witnessed since they've passed. And sometimes it's really big events, and other times it's something really little, like I know you got a pair of socks that you really don't like, and I know what they look like, to demonstrate that they're still part of our lives. This is the thing with mediumship. The whole reason why I see the value in doing it is because it demonstrates that we are eternal. We don't end when our body runs out of puff. We're still part of people's lives. Our job as the people alive with the body is to work out how to communicate with those that have passed and find our new way of doing it. Because they're still there seeing that we're getting socks that we don't really like, or we're going to make a ring to have them with us in some form forever. My name is Bronwyn Jane, and if we haven't met before, I'm the founder of the Psychic Mediumship College.